Hi guys, I have a quick update for you here on my proposed lighting layout for your home in San Carlos. I think it's easier to actually start up on the second floor just to familiarize ourselves with how I do basic lighting layouts and the HVAC layout as well. So we're seeing both out here. So up in the second floor, we're looking at the bedrooms, and as a standard rule for a bedroom, I like to have four can lights evenly spaced on the ceiling to provide even illumination through the space. And I also like to have a ceiling fan in the center of the room. Personally, I don't like the fans that have lights in them. I don't like not being able to have a similar quality of light between the fan and the can lights. So I think it's great just to have a lightless fan here. But every room gets one so that everyone can have air movement in their space without having to rely on the ducted air. And we're also seeing, if you zoom in, you'll see supply registers shown at the ceiling in each space, typically centered over a window and as far from the entry door as possible, because as air gets supplied into the room, it's going to get drawn across and sucked through the door into the return air grill. So the return air grill for the furnace is probably going to be on the wall of this closet, bringing air back up into the furnace to then duct back out to the supply of all these different grills. And by putting the grills out here at the far side, draws the air across the room. I suppose maybe we want to put the supply here. Doesn't really matter. And I should say this also is that this is just a starting off point. Your builder and HVAC sub will better situate these things when the framing's in and they can really fine tune how the duct should go. But I just don't like we don't want to just have the supply register right over the door, because then it just goes right out the door. Right? We need to put it at the opposite corner. All right. So basically, rooms have four can lights. We've got the supply registers for each of the rooms. The closets all have some utility light in them, so there's no dark closets. There are wall sconces shown, typically centered or flanking the sink vanities. These wall sconces could be long linear elements, they could be tall vertical elements. That's more of an interior design decision, but we're allowing for plenty of light in the bathrooms, as well as for wall sconces along the stairwell and along the walls of the second floor here. With this huge flared skylight shaft, I didn't want to put can lights in the ceiling. And there's a couple other things happening in the ceiling too, like a large drop-down attic access ladder and a whole house fan. And so these things, I think, or this space will be better illuminated, nicer illuminated with wall sconces. 1, 2, 3, and then a fourth one here, lighting up this side of the hall. The balcony, I'm purposely not putting any can lights up in that curved ceiling. I am instead saying this one light fixture outside on the wall of the balcony is allowed to not be a dark sky compliant light, because we're covered by the balcony above. This can be a more typical wall sconce like this one, providing uplighting as well to beautifully uplight that curved ceiling. Here in the master suite, we've got a vaulted ceiling. So these same four can lights would be a little different. They'd be on a gimbal so that you can really sort of exactly orient the angle of the lights after they're installed, so you can fine tune that. But still, four lights to evenly illuminate a space, and then a ceiling fan here. And then, my expectation is that you'll have lights either on your bedside tables, or perhaps there might be wall sconces. We can adjust that if you'd like. But here in the master suite, I'm showing 2 supply registers at the ceiling, so that both of you would get air on the bed before it gets drawn across out this door. In every bedroom, there's a little A symbol that stands for a smoke alarm. That's required in every bedroom and at every floor by bedroom. So it's not many smoke alarms, but those what that little A stands for. Looking in the bathrooms, another symbol that we'll see is an exhaust fan. Here in the master bath, I've got 2 exhaust fans, one in the water closet and one centered on the ceiling in this space. I again don't like relying on fan fixtures that also have a built-in light. I say let the fan be a fan only, let it do its one job well, and let it be more of a discrete, invisible fixture on the ceiling rather than something that has a built-in light that probably won't match the color of the light bulbs that we have elsewhere. So these two fan fixtures and this fan fixture here that I have over every toilet, it's not meant to be a light source, just exhaust fan for steam and condensation and maybe some smells. But then we've got can lights evenly spaced in this room to provide some general illumination. And then we'll also have sconces at each vanity that can be switched on individually for some more nice facial lighting. A couple lights in the closet. And then personally, I don't like having overhead lights in a shower. I am showing one overhead waterproof light here at this kid's bath because if you're bathing a kid, you want some good light to see in there. But personally, when I'm in the shower, I don't like seeing direct overhead illumination on my showering body. It's not pleasant. So I am strongly in favor of only having lighting out here to generally illuminate the space from the side angle. It's just nicer lighting for a shower. That said, I am showing some LED type fixture or feature lighting happening behind what could be happening behind a feature wall at the tub, as well as some LED lighting to light up the niche here. So these are more interior design elements to be fine-tuned later, but the intent is that the shower would not have overhead lighting, but would instead have some lighting in the niche area to provide some general illumination, plus these dimmable lights. Okay, I think that covers it. This fixture here is a continuously running whole house fan. These are meant to just always be running. They're silent. Technically, there's a switch for it somewhere that'll say keep it on. It's for the fan, but it's always running. It's silent, and it keeps the air fresh in the house. All right, let's take a look now at the ground floor. And the reason we start with the second floor is the bedrooms are so simple to lay out. They're usually pretty clean rooms. Occasionally rooms get a little messy, like this office has a little extra area, and it's like, where does this light want to go? Personally, I'm more in favor of when we have a clean space like this, boom, 4 lights easy. And does this light want to go centered on the wall, or does it want to stay in line with the lights? You could go either way, but being centered on the wall is not quite yet centered on the fan, so I say let's just stay here, and it's good enough. It's good enough. We got a light there, wall sconce, exhaust fan, and here again, I'm not showing a light over the shower. This wall sconce will provide enough uplighting for the entire bathroom, depending on the fixture, of course, but typically a long linear wall sconce is more than adequate to light up a bathroom of this size. We don't need direct overhead lighting in a shower. 4 big utility lights in the garage, no big deal. Sconce and exhaust. Supply. Oh, so here on the ground floor, we're doing our supply on the floor. So that's why you're seeing a slightly different color here. It's a little browner. That indicates that the supply is happening on the ground, rather through the crawl space rather than through the ceiling. Little light here under the stair landing, some lights here for the storage under the stairs, LEDs. Here we're seeing a can light centered in this mudroom space. And then down on the floor, we're seeing the crawl space access centered in this floor. So if you ever have to send someone down to the crawl space, they can get in here and stage around this opening. This is a good spot for it, but it'll be innocuous. It'll just be hardwood flooring over it. No one will be able to tell. And here we have the return air grill. It'll be on the wall in the family room close to the furnace in the garage. And then all the supply grills that are coming up out of the floor are as far away from that as possible so that as the air gets drawn back to the return grill, it's getting drawn across all these spaces really nicely. And so we're putting a supply register here on the floor. We'll keep someone nice and cool on a hot day if they're washing a lot of dishes or doing some hot cooking. But then we've also got another supply here so that anyone who is gathering around here can get some cool air on their legs as it gets drawn to the return. pretty evenly spaced can lights throughout these two spaces. I was actually really happy that by evenly spacing this grid of lighting in here, it actually really nicely lined up with the evenly spaced grid of lighting in the kitchen too. So this is a very happy coincidence for me, and I'm very glad that that worked out. But then I'm swapping out this middle can here for a set of 3 mini pendants over the island. You can do more and the spacing might change, but the idea is that we'll swap out 1 can for pendants over the island. And then we've got some more can lights here centered on each of these windows in the pop out, just to really brighten up this extra space here. I would imagine though that these would be a different size can light than these standard field lights. These should be more accent. So the PDF I'll send you is going to replace this symbol here with a symbol more like what's in here. It's kind of hard to read inside with the niche word, but it's a slightly different symbol and it's meant to be a smaller art light. And then I figured, you know, we've got these 2 windows here at the corner. I don't want to gang up 2 of the same lights, so maybe we swap 1 out just to keep with the motif of having a light at each window. We'll swap in maybe 1 more pendant just to tie the 2 spaces together. The pantry is simple, 2 lights and some under cabinet lights. The foyer, the entry, is very simple as well. We'll have a nice pendant light at the center of the ceiling, utility light in the closet, LED lighting for your built-in bookshelf, and last but not least, the awesome dining room. So we'll have a tray ceiling here that pops up 1 foot taller than the 12-foot surround. And then we'll have can light here at the corners, can lights here at the sides for some general illumination. But then we'll have a series of large pendants or a large pendant hanging down from the center of this tray to, over the dining table. And I think that covers it for lighting. Of course, I've indicated on the exterior elevations where all these exterior wall sconces are, but now you're seeing them in the plan as well. And so if you are generally happy with this lighting layout, we can share it with the electrical engineer for them to work on while the structural engineering is wrapping up. If you have comments or want to see some changes to the lighting, no problem at all. We'll fold those in and get the electrical engineer to connect them to all the different kind of wall switches, dimmers or occupancy sensors, or even humidistat type sensors for these exhaust fans. And then we'll also have them show all the power outlets and the electrical panel diagrams for this electrical panel here that I've placed just outside the mudroom door. Okay guys, looking forward to your feedback on this. Thank you so much.